Hello, everyone. Thank you, as always, to Moshe and Tade for inviting us all here. We're celebrating 15 years of ATTD, and I am celebrating 30 years on an insulin pump myself. I do not miss the shower bags for anyone who has recollections from those days. Today we'll be talking about insulin delivery hardware. Here are my disclosures. In the last couple of years, we've added on insulin pens to the discussion as well, and other insulin delivery hardware. And we have tried to avoid overlap with other sections. So on the topic of smart insulin pens, Galindo and colleagues presented a pilot randomized crossover study in the US showing a mild statistically significant decrease in mean glucose and A1C with the Insuclock, which clips onto an existing insulin pen, but no significant changes in missed or late meal boluses. Lots of work, as always, on insulin pumps in type 1 diabetes. Mooney out of Ontario enrolled 18 to 24-year-olds in a pump program, and the use of the pump program was associated with fewer age-related disparities in glycemia. Obviously, there could be a lot of confounders in this relationship. McKee in 2021 found that U.S. young adults with type 1 diabetes from lower socioeconomic status backgrounds showed improved glycemic control on insulin pump therapy versus injections without increases in hospitalizations for DKA. And Reid looked at the Scottish Care Information Database. Database pump use was associated with reduced retinopathy progression versus MDI, even in those with baseline A1Cs over 9%. And we sometimes worry if we're moving someone down too quickly, will that provoke retinopathy? JAM in 2021 looked at 4,684 people with type 1 diabetes from a nationwide Scottish population-based registry using pumps. They demonstrated long-term reductions in A1C regardless of age, and pump use was independently associated with decreased DKA and severe hypoglycemia. And then we got a systematic review out of Metwali, looked at all the published literature from 95 to 2020 concerning the effects of different bolus types, and found that dual wave boluses reduce postprandial glucose for high fat, high protein, and low glycemic index meals. Unfortunately, it was a very heterogeneous sample of studies, and so meta-analysis was not possible. Okay, and then moving along to insulin pumps in type 2 diabetes, fascinating retrospective observational cohort study of 3,592 adults with type 2 diabetes before and after 90 days of starting an Aeros or Dash pod between 2014 to 2020. The use of the pod was associated with reduced A1C, self-reports of hypoglycemia, and total daily dose. Then we have a couple articles here on technology safety. Jan Crauer put out an article that basically sought to correlate all of the entries for pumps, CGM, and glucometer in the MAUD database, which is a recording of manufacturer and user facility device experiences. This is basically when a company gets an adverse event, they are mandated to report this to the FDA, which goes into this MAUD database. Very hard to search this database, and very little is done with the data after it is recorded. But they found that insulin pumps may be associated with tens of thousands of injury events and hundreds of deaths per year. These events are not easily summarized, and we need a method of collecting that data so we can do something about it. Hallstrom 2021, this was a U.S. retrospective cohort study comparing glycemic outcomes in the first 24 hours of hospitalization for 216 adults on pumps and 216 age-matched controls on weight-based MDI protocols. They found that in these first 24 hours of hospitalization, pump use was associated with fewer serum or capillary glucose values less than 70 or greater than or equal to 180. Getting into delivery accuracy, basically Ziegler tested 3 patch pumps, the Roche Solo Micro pump, Omnipod, and the Medtrum A6, what they found was that all of these pumps exhibit greater delivery errors over short intervals and small volumes of insulin. The Solo micro pump was more accurate, followed by Omnipod, followed by A6. And then Buchanan in 2021 out of UCSF published on trying to figure out what are your bolus calculators actually doing. So they reverse engineered the bolus calculators from the Omnipod 670G and t:slim X2 and showed that basically there's unique ways each manufacturer incorporates IOB and the decay of insulin into their systems. And finishing us off here, this study out of Lilly done in pigs showed that PK and PD of regular insulin dropped markedly from day 7 to day 10, regardless of M-cresol, and histopathology results suggested an additive inflammatory response to both the infusion set and the insulin protein itself, peaking at day 7. So they conclude that it's the insulin, not the preservative. Thank you to my dear colleague Leelarathna, who helps me write this chapter every year, the endocrine teams at Stanford, my mentor, Dr. Buckingham, and the NIH for paying my salary. Thank you, guys.